You mentioned Pope Francis. So this is the crucial issue here. I mean, to say even that this is a crucial issue is an understatement, because this guy is now the Pope. But very strange things he was saying about the divinity of Jesus, about who can get to heaven. Because as Christians, we believe that Jesus came down and suffered and died on the cross for a reason. So, then recently also some of his statements on gay unions and gay marriage, and just in terms of how what the Catholic faith and what Catholic theology actually says about those things. So something very, very strange. And a lot of people that sometimes I talk to, where they try to defend Pope, they say, oh, he didn't say that specifically, he didn't say that specifically. But he's never come out and clarified some of these very controversial things. But something's very wrong with this guy. Also including how he's, clearly for the Great Reset, for just the invasion of Europe by, the Sharia migrants, you could say. So very, very disturbing record. And like you say, Claire, the Jesuits got their man into the Vatican, and there's infiltration going on. We could very legitimately say that he is this process of infiltration. And people like Bella Dodd, back in the day, that were recruited by the NKVD, that ended up exposing what had happened. Can you talk about that for a minute? Because that really unveils what's happening here.
Well, I'll just add one little footnote to our discussion about Pope Francis, who began life as Jorge Bergoglio in Buenos Aires, Argentina, which one might think of almost as ground zero for liberation theology in Latin America, and grew up in that milieu. And his writings, as he rose through the ranks, bishop, archbishop, cardinal, eventually pope. And if one reads some of those writings, they are frankly Marxist. They are frankly critical, outright critical of capitalism, of free market capitalism, and promoting the dissolution of capitalism. But to Bella Dodd then, yeah. So Bella Dodd was born in the United States to an Italian immigrant family back in the 1900s. She was an exceptional student at the New York University School of Law. She excelled. And I think it was probably there that she was recruited by the NKVD, which a forerunner of the KGB, if you will. And she became an active member of the Communist Party of the United States. And one can read about her journey, her life, in her autobiography that she wrote called School of Darkness. Now, she's rising through the ranks of the Communist Party USA, and where do they take aim? Where does she take aim? We'll remember W. Cleon Skousen's book, The Naked Communist and the 45 Goals of Communism, in chapter 13 of that book, where number 17 of those 45 goals is get control of the schools, right? Mm-hmm. Get control of the teachers' unions, the curriculum, and all of that. Well, here is Bella Dodd, who rises to head the New York State Teachers Union. But she eventually did have a change of heart. And by the time of the early 1950s, when the House Un-American Activities Committee and also Senator Joseph McCarthy's committee in the Senate were holding hearings, she came before those committees, subpoenaed but willingly, to testify. And she testified to how the Communist Party in the United States had specifically targeted, yes, education, academia, through the Frankfurt School and other ways, but also taken dead aim at faith communities, in particular the Catholic Church. And one of the takeaway quotes from her testimony was this one, quote, "In the 1930s, she said, we put 1,100 men into the priesthood in order to destroy the church from within," end quote. And so she testified how the Communist Party intended to so change the church from within that it would no longer be an effective opponent of communism and Marxism, because the hierarchy, I mean, the idea was that some of these young seminarians would stick with it, rise through the ranks of the Catholic Church on up into bishop, archbishop ranks, and so forth. So the hierarchy of the church, but also the laity eventually would all have been co-opted to support communism. And that is what we're seeing happen.